Hi, I'm Matt, and welcome to my latest gaming news video. I'll be covering recent gaming news as well as some other gaming related things in this video. I'm grateful for any feedback, so if you feel the need to do so, please leave a comment below. You can also like and subscribe if you enjoy my videos. I'm now getting some gaming news. Now, first up, big one, a bit of a crazy one this week. I was planning to cover this story in my game reception, but as it's got worse and worse and sort of exploded, I bumped it to the mainline story. You probably guessed this. The first bit is about the utter disaster that is the day before. And yeah, it's going to be a longer piece. But just some quick background on the game first, however. The day before was meant to be an open world MMO zombie survival game. The game had a number of controversies surrounding its development, with the people saying it looked fake, multiple delays, being delisted from Steam, and the people thinking a while ago that it was a scam. I think those were the general main pre-release issues, and also apparently the day before at one point was the most wishlisted game on Steam, which is pretty wild. It's also been reported that the game made heavy use of voluntary workers during its development, something I didn't actually know of before this whole like fiasco, you might say, kicked off. Anyway, on to sort of the story. The game has released and subsequently unreleased. The day before, released into early access on Steam on the 7th of December. I actually mentioned this, I believe, last week, and I've covered it a couple of times over the past couple of months. And yeah, it was unreleased on the 11th of December. Pretty wild. The game, following massive backlash and users refunding, has now been removed from sale from Steam and is no longer purchasable. This has also led to the studio Fantastic shutting down. I'll get into the review side of things first. The game released to incredibly negative reviews. I was going to cover this in the game reception section, as I mentioned, but I thought I'd add it into the main news piece on the game. On Steam, when I checked, the day before had an overwhelmingly negative rating, with around 15% of reviews being positive. This is based on around 21,000 reviews. May have went up a little bit since then. I'm pretty sure most of the positive reviews are either bot reviews from Fantastic or meme reviews at this point. There's no way 15% of reviews are positive. It's got to be less than 10%, I would say, or something. But yeah, I could be wrong. I have no evidence. But yeah, still 15% is a terrible showing. Just to add, for what it's worth, a reviewer over at IGN gave it a 1 out of 10 for their early access review of the game. Apparently the first 1 out of 10 in 13 years from IGN. The reviewer said, quote, "The day before is easily one of the worst games I've ever played, to the point where I'm afraid to continue running it on my PC. And if you didn't manage to try it, you can count yourself as one of the lucky ones," end quote there. He also clarified in the comments of the review, when I was looking through comments, that yeah, he was planning on giving it a 2 out of 10, but due to the studio closure and delisting mid-review draft, the decision was made to give it a 1 out of 10, just because it's the whole situation is just terrible as well. So yeah, I don't blame him for that. If we take a look at the game's Steam charts on SteamDB, you can see the game peaked at just over 38,000 players around the time of launch. It's since fallen to around 300 players when I checked, though it had a 24-hour peak of around 900 players. And yeah, these numbers have likely continued to decline even further by the release of this video. Considering the high peak, this is a severe decline. All this isn't expected, given the abandonment of the game by Fantastic and the fact it's a complete mess, gameplay, bugs, and performance-wise. Not just the sort of exceptionally mediocre, terrible gameplay. Following this, just 4 or so days after its release, the studio behind the game, Fantastic, has made the decision to shut their studio down. I can certainly see why people consider this game a scam. It's yeah, this is a really terrible look. In a statement via Twitter or X, Fantastic said that, quote, "Today we announced the closure of Fantastic Studio. Unfortunately, the day before has failed financially and we lack the funds to continue. All income received is being used to pay off debts to our partners. We invested all our efforts, resources and man hours into the development of the day before, which was our first huge game. We really wanted to release new patches to reveal the full potential of the game, but unfortunately, we don't have the funding to continue the work. It's important to note that we didn't take any money from the public during the development of the day before. There were no pre-orders or crowdfunding campaigns. We worked tirelessly for 5 years, pouring our blood, sweat and tears into the game." Oh, Christ. At the moment, the future of the day before and prop night is unknown, but the service will remain operational. We apologise if we didn't meet your expectations. We did everything within our power, but unfortunately we miscalculated our capabilities. Creating games is an incredibly challenging endeavour. We're grateful to everyone who supported us during these difficult years. It's been a fantastic journey over the past 8 years. They also noted some time frames going from when the studio opened in 2015 and various releases. But yeah, and then finishing off with the day before's release in December of this year, December 7th, with the early access release. But yeah, apparently the day before was in development for 5 years. I refuse to refuse to believe that. The game released in such an awful state and lacking content. There's no way it took 5 years to pump that garbage out that we've seen. And that was 5 years just to enter into early access. Who knows how long it would have taken for a full release if it ever was going to happen. Also, just to note, as mentioned by Fantastic, the service will remain live, although for how long is unknown. They could be down by the time this video goes up, but yeah, I can't see them lasting long, but I guess I could be wrong. I just don't think they will stay up for much longer. One additional thing to note, which I thought was funny and a sort of great bashing of the day before, was a tweet from the official DayZ X account. They released a tweet in the same format as the one put out by Fantastic, following Fantastic's upload of their tweet. The tweet by the DayZ team reads, quote, "Today we want to primarily celebrate for no reason at all the remarkable 10th anniversary of DayZ. It is with immense gratitude we commemorate a decade of passion, creativity, and the unwavering support of our incredible community. In this milestone moment, we are delighted to announce the thriving success of DayZ, our groundbreaking MMO experience that has captivated audiences worldwide. This open world survival masterpiece, enriched with years of dedication, has truly flourished into a gaming marvel. Throughout the years, we poured boundless efforts, resources, and man-hours into the development of DayZ. From the immersive open world design to the adrenaline-pumping survival elements, every aspect has been meticulously crafted to provide an unparalleled gaming experience. The journey began in 2013 with the release of early access of DayZ, followed by the release of 1.0 update in 2018, and the subsequent release of the Livonia DLC in 2019. We express our deepest gratitude to the amazing community that has been with us every step of the way. Your unwavering support has made this incredible journey possible, and we look forward to many more years of adventure, exploration, and camaraderie in the expansive world of DayZ. Thank you for being part of this extraordinary adventure over the last 10 years. They also went on to detail the development as similar to the poster by Day Before team. So yeah, that's pretty funny. DayZ coming out and roasting the day before, and their sort of ridiculous explanation / apology. I suspect DayZ will receive probably a decent influx of players following the failure of the day before. I believe Rust also released a similarly formatted statement, sort of roast the day before. And also, I did see a report of on Steam, DayZ and Icarus also announced a Steam sale on those two games called Day After. Kind of funny. But yeah, DayZ is so much better and more polished. I shouldn't even have to say that. And the day before was like barely a game. I can't believe they were asking $40 for it. But yeah, I do know DayZ does still have its issues. But it's in a much better state than its release, and certainly way better than the day before ever has been. And yeah, as I mentioned, the day before, the game is no longer for sale on Steam, though its Steam page is viewable. When you take a look at most reviews, they detail refunded. Going by recent reports, the game had a refund rate just a few days after launch of 46%, which is apparently very high. It seems very high to me when I read that number. I heard someone say that like up to 5% refund rate was sort of 4 or 5% refund rate was maybe reasonable for some games. So yeah, 46% compared to that is pretty high. It's probably considerably higher than that, and I'll cover it a bit more now. Also, the game's publisher, MyToner, has apologised for the state the game, quotes, game was released in, and are offering refunds regardless of the hours played. In the X statement, they said, quote, "To all the day before players, as the investor of the day before, we'd like to provide some updates on the current situation around the game. We're sorry for the fact that the game didn't meet expectations of the majority of the players. Today we work with Steam to open up refunds for any players who choose to make a refund. We're in contact with Fantastic regarding the future of the game, MyToner." Go back to Fantastic, Fantastic. They also released another statement saying that they were, quote, "working with Steam to allow refunds for any players player who chooses to request one regardless of game time. They also mentioned how they received $0 and nothing from the sales of the game. One user on X responded to one of Fantastic's tweets saying, quote, "Unbelievable that you guys hyped this game up so much and this is the end result. You guys are an absolute disgrace to the video game community." To which Fantastic directly responded, quote, "This was our first big experience. Shit happens." Not the response I sort of expected, or maybe I should have. So yeah, it looks like the game's as well. The game's publisher, Mytona, is the owner of the Day Before IP, but I can't imagine they will try to resurrect the game in some form. I'd be very surprised if they tried now. But yeah, there were some people saying maybe give the IP, allow someone else to license development for a game, like a more experienced studio. But I'll be pretty surprised if that does happen. So yeah, I think I'll end it there. It's been a lengthy piece. Yeah, just a completely crazy explosion the 4 or 5 days following the release of the Day Before, where I'm guessing that's probably most of the news on it sort of covered. I think more stuff may come out, but yeah, I'm not really sure at this point. Yeah, it's just a complete disaster of a situation. What with them calling it an MMO and things, and then dropping in, it's more like a Division sort of loot extraction shooter, and then just all the blowback and things, and all this sort of misleading marketing around the game. Yeah, it was just I think it probably is one of the worst things to happen in gaming related news this year, maybe for a few years at least, especially in regard to like hype and video game hype and things. So yeah, also just add this, but I can't believe there was an even worse sort of shit show following Gollum and Rise of Kong. I didn't think this year could get any worse, but we end it on a complete and utter disaster and fiasco. Let's hope we have less of this in the future. But knowing the gaming industry, there probably will be some other scam currently ongoing or being concocted, and we'll just wait to see what happens. So, moving away from the Day Before, I wanted to cover the Game Awards 2023, the winners and the reveals. May not cover everything here, but as always, there are a number of links in the description in case you wanted to check stuff for yourselves. Before I get into the main stuff, I did want to cover the complaints a lot of people have had with this year. So I do think the devs should have had more time on stage. 30 seconds is simply not enough for their award speech. And also, people are annoyed with how this year was less of a focus on the award side of things and more on reveals, trailers, and the likes. I like that they showed a lot of stuff off, but yeah, I understand definitely why people are calling this the quote Winter Game Fest. It's not a great look that they shortened the award stuff, and it was more of like an ad fest at some points, I guess you could say. And I think next year they should absolutely allow more time for the award side of the show, and definitely allow the developers to actually say what they want to say without being rushed. Definitely not a good look this year. Anyway, first up, winners of this year's awards. I'll go over, I'm pretty sure it's every category and just detail what game won. The winners are as follows, and actually I will talk about some games maybe a bit more than others, but yeah, they are as follows. Game of the year goes to Baldur's Gate 3. That was sort of expected. I think everyone pretty much thought that. Yeah, it's great that they won that. Yeah, it certainly wasn't expected. It's seemingly a great, like really amazing game. 9s and 10s, and Steam reviews are exceptionally positive for it. So yeah, that was expected. And you got Player's Voice. That also went to Baldur's Gate 3. Best Game Direction, Alan Wake 2. Best Narrative, Alan Wake 2. And Best Art Direction, Alan Wake 2. I know Alan Wake 2 was pretty well received. It's not my type of game though. I watched a full review of it. I think it was by SkillUp and by G-Man's Lives. I watched both their reviews, I believe. And yeah, it's just not my type of game, but I can see why people really like it. And it's made by Remedy, who have made good games in the past. So yeah, it was expected that it probably was going to get awards this year. But yeah, not my kind of game, but yeah, I can definitely tell why it was awarded so well. Then we have Best Score and Music, which went to Final Fantasy 16. I've not heard it's a good game. I've not listened to any of the music or heard any of the music really. I've never really been a big Final Fantasy fan. I've never really played any of them. So yeah, I mean, someday I may. I thought 15 looked quite cool, and 16 does look quite good, but maybe someday I'll play them. I'm not really sure. Next up, we have Best Audio Design. That went to Hi-Fi Rush. Hyper Rush is, yeah, very, very well received game. I do plan on playing that at some point. It looks very nice. Yeah, it looks like my type of game. Lot going on, a lot of very fun, seeming game. Then we have another one to Baldur's Gate 3. This is Best Performance. This is Neil Newbin, which is his character was Astarion, I believe, in Baldur's Gate 3. So that's another award for Baldur's Gate 3. Then we have Innovation in Accessibility to Forza Motorsport. Games for Impact to Chia. I'm not sure what that game is. I've not seen it. Then we have Best Ongoing Game. This is Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah, kind of obvious to me why this sort of received the award for our Best Ongoing Game. They have CD Projekt Red have seemingly done quite well to improve the game over since it's like pretty rough launch, especially on last gen consoles. But yeah, it's pretty rough launch, and the addition of the almost said Phantom Pain then, the Phantom Liberty DLC, which is being very well received. So yeah, I think Best Ongoing Game going to Cyberpunk is yeah, fine with me. And then we have Best Community Support, that went to Baldur's Gate 3. Best Independent Game, Sea of Stars, so Best Indie Game. I have heard good things about Sea of Stars, not played it, but yeah, I've heard it's good, really good. And then we have Best Debut Indie Game, that went to Cocoon. I actually think I covered this in an upcoming game section not too long ago. And yeah, it looks quite interesting. Then we have Best Mobile Game, Honkai Star Rail. I've heard a lot about this game, but I'm not really into mobile stuff, unless it's like a port of like a game I like to mobile. I remember actually playing a port of Rome Total War to mobile, which was fine, but that was years ago. So yeah, unless it's something like that, I don't really play any mobile stuff. And yeah, even that's really rare. That was years ago. That was the last mobile game I played. And I think I played a bit of old school RuneScape on mobile. But yeah, I'm not really a mobile gamer. Best VR/AR game. It's a Resident Evil Village VR mode. Yeah, that was sort of expected, I guess. It looks pretty cool for a VR game. It's just basically the game, I believe. Best action game went to Armored Core 6: Fires of Rubicon. I actually played this game all the way through. Yeah, really great game by From Software. Sort of continuation of the long-running Armored Core series, and yeah, it definitely lived up to expectations. So yeah, I'm glad it won Best Action Game. I believe also nominated was Spider-Man 2, which I don't think won a single award, which is kind of surprising to me. But yeah, Armored Core 6 ended up winning the Best Action Game. And with Best Action Adventure Game, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, I think this was sort of expected. Yeah, very well received. Great sequel to Breath of the Wild. So yeah, Tears of the Kingdom doing very well and won Best Action Adventure Game. With Best RPG, this went to Baldur's Gate 3. I think another pretty obvious one. I believe Starfield was also in this category, but yeah, I don't think that really had any chance of winning. So yeah, that's another good win for Baldur's Gate 3. And we have Best Fighting Game, Street Fighter 6. Best Family Game, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I've heard very good things about Super Mario Bros. Wonder. So yeah, good. It won an award. Best Sim/strategy game went to Pikmin 4, which I've heard is a really good strategy game and a good Pikmin game. Not played any of the Pikmin games, so they do look quite cool. I quite like the art design and sort of aesthetic of them. They all look rather nice. Then with Best Sports/Racing Game, there wasn't. I didn't feel like there was much going on in racing this year, and it went to Forza Motorsport, which I guess it's kind of expected, I guess. I mean, I think it's the least well received Forza Motorsport in it may be the least well received motorsport since like Motorsport 5 maybe, but I think it's got pretty mixed reviews on Steam and elsewhere at the moment, but there's not really much going on in sports racing, so I guess give it to Forza Motorsport. I really do hope they work on improving that game, because I did used to really like the Forza Motorsports, but what I played of this one I didn't really enjoy that much. So the progression was my main issue with it, and so I was just using it for it's sort of relegated to a background footage game for me at the moment. I keep it installed just for that because it's quite nice, just driving around doing circuits and things as background footage. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't just stay like that. I would like to maybe give it a go again at some point properly. But yeah, we will see in the future. And we have Best Multiplayer presented by Discord. Baldur's Gate 3 won that. Interesting. Best Adaptation, The Last of Us. So I guess this is The Last of Us TV, so movie, film and TV game tie-in stuff. So The Last of Us won that. Now, most anticipated game went to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. which I believe is the sequel to the Final Fantasy VII remake. So yeah, a lot of people were looking forward to that. It wouldn't be my top pick. I am, just on a note, I'm doing my most anticipated games video soon. But yeah, just a spoiler that isn't in there. But yeah, I do know people love the Final Fantasy games, so yeah, that's cool. And we have Content Creator of the Year went to Iron Mouse. I'm not sure who that is. I'm guessing it's. I don't really watch a lot of Twitch stuff. I'm guessing it's someone on Twitch. Did just check, and yes, they're a VTuber and they stream on Twitch and things like that. So yeah, that's good. Went to them. If yeah, that's what people want. Then we have Best Esports Game went to Valorant. That's not surprising, I guess. It was either that or Counter Strike, I guess. Counter Strike 2. Best Esports Athlete, Faker. Best Esports Team, JD Gaming. Best Esports Coach, Potter. And Best Esports Event 2023, the League of Legends World Championship. So yeah, quite a few categories there. I didn't realise there were so many. It's good to see Baldur's Gate 3 get so much praise. Other than that, it's not much else to say, I guess. I will now move into the reveal/trailers. Like I did with the awards section, we'll cover most reveals with the ones that interest me covered in more detail. There should also be footage going up of those games too. And yeah, as I said, check the links in the description if you want a more detailed breakdown of the event, as there may be some things I've missed in this in the reveal section. First up was Exodus. This is like a third-person shooter, sort of space sci-fi type game. It was actually presented by Matthew McConaughey, who is apparently in the game, although the footage wasn't shown off of him, I don't believe. Then we have God of War Ragnarok Valhalla DLC, which I believe should have released by now, which is, yeah, apparently a roguelike additional DLC to Valhalla, so expand the replayability on that, I guess. Then we have Kimuri by Ikumi Nakamura, who I believe was previously worked on and was the creative director for Ghostwire Tokyo. So she is branched out, done her own studio, and this I believe is their first game. Then there were a bunch of Sega remakes, actually, or reboots to the reimaginings, you might say, to old Sega franchises that haven't seen games in years. So they showed off Jet Set Radio reboot, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, and Crazy Taxi. All look pretty cool. Definitely interested in Jet Set Radio. That would be, yeah, really cool. Then we have Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, so another Dragon Ball game. Then we have the casting of Frank Stone, I believe it's a horror game. Then we have Visions of Mana, which will be, yeah, the latest game in the Mana series of, I believe they're like fantasy action RPG games. I've always heard really good things about them. So yeah, that and the art style and the gameplay and stuff look really interesting. Definitely another game I'm interested in. Then we have Rise of the Ronin, which is a sort of feudal Sengoku Japan game. Looks really cool, actually, from what I've seen. I believe it's just a PlayStation 5 exclusive game, and it's coming out, I believe, the 22nd of March or towards the end of March. But yeah, it looks really good. Then Hideo Kojima was on stage, showing off a game called OD, I believe. I don't know if there was any other name to it, but yeah, it's like the typical Hideo Kojima game, I guess. Yeah, I guess interesting. I'll just wait to see. Then we had another quite interesting one to me, actually, Jurassic Park Survival. This looked pretty cool. It, I believe, is set in the aftermath of the original film, and it kind of reminds me of Alien Isolation, which Creative Assembly made a number of years ago. Yeah, actually looks really cool. Very interested in that. It's first person as well, similar to that, I believe. So, yeah, interested in that. It looks really great as well. Then we had Warframe Whispers in the Wall DLC. Don't really play Warframe anymore. I haven't played it in a number of years, but I've heard the community is still happy with the game, so it's good that it's getting another DLC. Then we have Tales of Kenzer Zao. This is a 2D like side-scroller action looking game. Looks quite interesting. Then we had the first Berserker Kazan. This was like a kind of Souls-like game. I believe it's based on the Berserker anime or something like that. I don't really watch anime, so I don't really know. But gameplay-wise, yeah, it looked really good actually. And graphics-wise, it looked really cool as well. Definitely one to keep an eye on. Another interesting one next, Marvel Blade. This is a Blade game. Arcane Leon, who made Deathloop, are making this, so it has a similar Dishonored and Deathloop sort of graphical style. Do wonder how they're going to go with this. It did look, I mean, I can't really say it looked interesting. It was just a very vague sort of trailer. There was no gameplay or anything, but yeah, the Blade game sounds cool. They made The Last Sentinel, which is like a sci-fi AI-looking game. They made the first Descendant, which looks like another sort of sci-fi action game. Looked kind of interesting. And then we had Sean Murray come up and detail Light No Fire. So Sean Murray of No Man's Sky fame. Yeah, Light No Fire looks really cool, actually. A lot of people saying maybe he shouldn't have hyped it up again like he did No Man's Sky. But from what they showed, the gameplay and things in the trailer, yeah, I thought it looked really cool, actually. Very interested to see how that turns out. Then we had an RTS called Stormgate. And finally, the new mainline, I believe it's a new mainline, Monster Hunter game, Wild. So it looks, yeah, really cool, actually, from what they showed off. As someone who hasn't played any of the Monster Hunter games, I mean, it still did look really interesting to me. I think I'll probably give give one of them a go. But yeah, Monster Hunter Wild looks really good. So I think the reveals that interested me most were Jet Set Radio Reboot, Visions of Mana, Rise of the Ronin, Jurassic Park Survival, the first Berserker Kazan, Marvel Blade, Light No Fire, and finally Monster Hunter Wilds. Yeah, they didn't show much of some of those games, but I will be keeping an eye on them. So fairly decent showing reveals and trailer-wise. Would like more that really sort of wowed me. The only game that really impressed me, I think, was probably Monster Hunter Wilds. Yeah, I haven't played any, as I said, Monster Hunter games, but do plan on doing so. May give the latest one a go next year. There were a couple additional things I wanted to cover in brief that came out of the awards. There's going to be a remake of Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons coming out on the 20th of February next year. This game, the game is an atmospheric, story-rich, I believe, puzzle game. It was very well received, so I suspect fans will be happy with the remake. I believe it was one of Total Biscuit's favourite games as well. And also, Skull and Bones finally has a release date. It's actually coming sooner than I thought it would. It is supposedly, sans any more delays, releasing on February 16th, 2024. There will also be a closed beta apparently later this month. And if you pre-order the premium edition of the game, you can play 3 days early. Or if you subscribe to Ubisoft Plus, they said, or they detailed. Not keen on that sort of premium early access. I'd rather wait, but I doubt I'd ever pre-order anything again anyway, especially after how bad this year has been in some ways. I'd rather just wait and see how a game is being received. But yeah, so that was my coverage of the Game Awards 2023. Hopefully next year there's less controversy and more positive stuff coming out of the show. But overall, not bad if you're interested in, especially the game review side of things. And yeah, as I said earlier, there's probably some things I missed, so you can check the links in the description, which should cover more of it if I did miss any, which I probably did miss some. And moving on, I wanted to cover some more GTA 6 related news. This is news and speculation regarding its PC release and whether it will be releasing alongside consoles in 2025 or later. It's pretty obvious at this point that there will be a PC release of GTA 6, just like pretty much every other mainline Grand Theft Auto game. When this release will happen is another matter though. For context, GTA 5 released for the Xbox 360 and PS3 on the 17th of September 2013. But yes, it's wild to me that was quite that long ago. The Xbox One and PS4 version was released the following year on November 18th, 2014. And finally, the PC version of GTA 5 released on April 14th, 2015. So yeah, fairly staggered release cadence. GTA 5 on PC launched around 19 months after its original console release. If GTA 6 releases in early 2025 and has a similar release cadence in regard to PC version, that means we won't see a PC version until mid to late 2026. I'd hope it wouldn't get pushed to 2027, but who knows. That is going to be quite annoying of a wait, at least for me personally. I expect other people want to play it on PC opposed to console. It's obviously not the end of the world or anything, but it's a bit painful nonetheless, I guess. Even if I have maybe a PS5 Pro or something by the time of GTA 6 release, I don't know whether I'd get it on console, to be honest. Much rather have it on PC, to the point where I'd be willing to probably wait. Although maybe the hype will get to me by then. at least wait for PC release if it isn't too far out. Hopefully Rockstar give a definite PC release date when they reveal the console release date, and hopefully it isn't 19 or so months out. The PC version of Red Dead Redemption 2, for example, as stated by the PC Gamer article I read, released around 13 months following the console release, which I feel is a much more likely time frame. And yeah, I would absolutely prefer the PC version to release at the same time, but a 12-ish month later release isn't the worst thing ever, I guess. Especially if they're working on tuning the game up and things to run a bit better. My guess for a release of GTA 6 is early 2025, which some recent rumours suggest, with a PC release following 12 months later. I could be wrong, obviously, but that's what I'm guessing at this point. And yeah, by then we will likely have news of the next generation of consoles from Sony and Microsoft, and a version of GTA 6 for those consoles will more than likely be in the works too by then. But yeah, just in conclusion, I guess it would be great if GTA 6 released for PC at the same time as consoles, and hopefully I'm pleasantly surprised. That would be nice, though I doubt that will be the case. Anyway, yeah, certainly look forward to getting more GTA 6 news in 2024, and hopefully those release dates. That would be, yeah, definite release dates. That would be really nice. And yes, any news coming out on that, I will pretty assuredly cover on this channel. Moving away from GTA 6, we have a few pieces of sort of sad and negative news to cover. So yeah, not great. Mostly relating to layoffs. Yes, even more layoffs. I had covered that this might be happening in a previous gaming news video, but it has now been confirmed to Video Game Chronicle that Free Radical is now shutting down. Free Radical is the original developers behind the awesome Time Splitters games, and the studio was resurrected a few years back to reboot the legendary franchise. A new Time Splitters games will likely no longer be releasing due to the studio now being shuttered, which, as a fan of these games, has me extremely disappointed. Confirmation came from publisher PlayOn, who are owned by Embracer. This is likely part of the ongoing restructuring efforts at Embracer, a process which has been ongoing for around 6 months or more at this point. PlayOn said in the statement given to VGC that, quote, "It's with a heavy heart that we must announce yet another difficult decision. Today we have to confirm the official closure of Free Radical Design and say goodbye to many remarkable, talented and hardworking people. We are beyond grateful for their incredible contributions to PlayOn and wish them the best of luck and success on their professional journey from here on out." So yeah, some very sad news there, especially the developers who have now lost their jobs. There are around 80 staff remaining at Free Radical before its closure, I believe it was reported. But yeah, this is another in a long line of layoffs for the game industry this year, something I will cover more in the next piece of news. First, as always, I wish the developers affected all the best and hope they can find new employment swiftly. So next bit, as I alluded to, yeah, this next piece is more layoff related news and is about the total game industry as a sort of as a whole, and job losses that have taken place during 2023. And as I said, 2023 was a really bad year for developers and gaming industry staff. Now that we're coming to the end of the year, the scale of these losses is becoming more clear. According to VGC, approximately 9,000 gaming industry employees have lost their jobs. So yeah, this is very rough news. So far, the companies with the most layoffs were Unity at 1,165 layoffs, ByteDance at 1,000, Embracer Group at 964, Epic at 830, and Amazon at 715. A large number of other companies, as I've covered over the past many months, have also laid off workers. Other companies include, and these were detailed in the VGC article, but some I believe I covered previously. So the Xbox Game Studios, Sony Interactive Entertainment, CD Projekt, Ubisoft, Riot Games, Blizzard, Crystal Dynamics, Electronic Arts, Take-Two, BioWare, Striking Distance, Team 17, Frontier Developments, Telltale Games, Digital Extremes, and Digital Bros. Another one I actually didn't cover last week, but I thought I'd do a little bit on it now, was New World Interactive. They also had a large number of layoffs recently. This was due to Embracer's aforementioned restructuring. It really is crazy how much damage Embracer has done the past year or so. Anyway, a New World Interactive develop one of my favourite tactical shooters, actually, Insurgency Sandstorm. It's a really great game. And also I've heard some talk that 2024 could be as bad as 2023 or even worse. If that is the case, then the game industry and its developers, among others, are in for another rough year, which is terrible. So you can expect more layoffs being reported on next year. Something I'd rather didn't happen, but if more gaming companies let people go, I will be covering it in the future. Hopefully these sad rumours aren't true, but only time will tell. And the final bit of somewhat related news is the confirmation that E3 is now officially coming to an end. E3, as most probably know, is, or now was, the premier annual gaming event, an event that has been running mostly annually since its launch in 1995. As mentioned in the VGC article, E3 originally started out as a place for retailers and, I guess, gaming industry folks to meet with game publishers. In subsequent years, E3 became massive and the premier annual gaming event where most major releases were shown off. In the last few years, E3 had lost a lot of the momentum and relevance it once had, and following attempts to revive E3, which didn't work, the ESA has now decided to end the event altogether. The ESA, or the Entertainment Software Association, I believe they're called, are the organisers of E3. In a statement on X, they said, quote, "After more than 2 decades of E3, each one bigger than the last, the time has come to say goodbye. Thanks for the memories." E3 was apparently going to return to an in-person event earlier this year, though this was cancelled in March due to reduced interest in the formerly popular event. Looks like events like Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest and other publisher showcases will continue to take the place of E3 going forward, as they have in recent years. I guess I'll miss E3. I would usually look forward to reveals and the likes each year at the event, although I do feel that Summer Games Fest, along with the other events, will do a pretty good job in its absence, and will likely continue to do so going forward. So yeah, no more E3. I don't know whether it will be eventually revived. I guess potential, but I don't see it at this point. Now for a quick, well, I say quick, it might not be that quick, but a bit of Baldur's Gate 3 news, and it was something that was apparently meant to be revealed at the Game Awards, but the game has finally released for Xbox Series consoles. News of Baldur's Gate 3 coming to Xbox has been something I've covered a number of times over the past few months. The game originally had its full release on the 3rd of August 2023 for PC, but obviously previous to that it did have a number of years early access phase, with a PS5 release following on the 6th of September. An Xbox release took Larian longer due to technical issues, getting the Xbox Series S version running as well as the Series X version of the game, as Microsoft and Xbox require feature parity between the two different spec consoles, something I think that is not a good idea, as the X is considerably more powerful than the S. Microsoft and Xbox made the decision to break away from this requirement and allowed Larian to release a version of the game which didn't require feature parity between the two consoles, so the game could release onto Xbox consoles this year. Good move in my book from Xbox. I actually have a Series S, I've mentioned a number of times, but I mostly use it to play older Xbox backwards compatible games digitally, or games via xCloud. But I do understand people being frustrated if a game on the S doesn't run as well or isn't as feature complete as the same game on the X. But I don't think the Series S should be holding the Series X back, as was the case with Baldur's Gate 3, something Larian confirmed was the reason behind the later Xbox release of the game. And yeah, it looked like the Xbox version may have originally was going to get pushed to 2024, but yeah, with working with Xbox and Microsoft, it looks like Larian have now got it out this year. But yeah, anyway, now the hugely popular game is finally out for Xbox Series consoles. Apparently Swen, or another member of the team, was meant to announce this during their Game of the Year winner speech, but I think they forgot. Understandable given the moment in question. Following the event, the official Larian X account did announce that it was available, however. In a tweet, they said, quote, "Xbox players, it's party time. Baldur's Gate 3 is now available for Xbox Series XS. Start your venture today." So yeah, great news. The game is finally out on all modern systems now, I believe. Glad Xbox users can finally experience the game. Look forward to playing it myself, and when I finally get around to play it, I'll probably just do so on the PC. Just to add, there is actually I noticed this when I was just looking for new stuff, research and stuff, there is actually a bug currently with Baldur's Gate 3 on Xbox, which can cause lost saves. But Larian is working on a fix, according to their director of publishing. I will link to an article detailing potential workarounds. It may have been fixed by the time this video comes out, but I'm not quite sure. You may have to check that for yourself. So next up, we have some Starfield news. It's a bit of rough news, especially for those who wanted to co-op Starfield with their friends. Same people who brought us the Skyrim Together mod have decided to cancel the Starfield multiplayer mod. As with Skyrim, this mod would have enabled co-op/multiplayer for Starfield and was in the early stages of development. This is following the mod developers porting a large portion of code over to work with Starfield. I don't believe, as they mentioned, it's not in a playable state, but they had done a fair bit of work so far. I will include an image of the Discord statement. It is quite lengthy, but I'll go over the main part now. The mod developer said in this statement that, quote, "Hey everyone, let's talk about Starfield. When the game released, I was hyped, like a lot of people, but probably for different reasons. I spent launch day and a few days after reverse engineering the game and porting over gameplay hooks from Skyrim Together to a potential Starfield Together mod. I ported about 70% of Skyrim Together, reversed code to Starfield Together. There was just one problem. This game is a modern, mind my language, fucking trash. I didn't realize this until after I actually started playing the damn game a week after launch. The game is boring, bland, and the main draw of Bethesda games, exploration in a lively and handcrafted world, was completely gone. Anyways, everyone already knows this. Most people agree. There's no need to further repeat the point, just read any of the dozens of reviews online. That said, I won't be continuing development of Starfield Together. I'm not going to put my heart and soul into a mod for a game as mediocre as this, end quote. Yeah, ouch, that is pretty brutal. Personally, the game wasn't that bad to me. I did enjoy it to some extent, but I must say after playing a bit over 100 hours of the game and finishing it, when I think back to my time with Starfield, I must say I've sort of soured on the game compared to when I was playing it. When I look at scores for the game and its mixed rating on Steam, and I'll focus on the scores, being around 5 to 7 out of 10. I think those are sort of reasonable. I'll probably land somewhere in the middle now a few months after when I think back to it. But yeah, it's good. I'd say 6 for me. Not bad, just above average at best for me. But when I was playing it, I probably was thinking, oh, this is like a 8 out of 10, I would have said. I think, thinking back then. But now, yeah, I'm more in the region of a 6, with some bits of the game being better than others. But I might go into a bit more detail when I do my most played games of this year. But anyway, this isn't a good look for Bethesda. This is probably their least well-received single-player game, I believe. And a lot of people seem to have soured more on the game than I have. It is now 52% mixed on Steam, last time I checked, and the discourse surrounding the game online is fairly negative at the moment. I've seen a lot of videos being sort of long videos on the game, being quite negative on it. The cancellation of this mod is a major blow, I feel, to Starfield, as mods do help extend the life of games. Case in point, Skyrim, which currently has more players than Starfield, when I checked, I believe, on Steam anyway, and this is more than 12 years after the launch of Skyrim. Just to note, the mod developers have released all source code, or are going to do so, I believe, relating to the Starfield multiplayer mod, Starfield Together, as it may be called, in case anyone wants to work on the mod themselves. And yeah, I hope Bethesda can improve Starfield going forward. One additional piece of Starfield news, just a quick bit. Bethesda are finally planning on adding in city maps and more ways to travel. Hopefully buggies or rovers, something along those lines. Why that wasn't in the game at launch just sort of baffles me. And yeah, I really hope Bethesda do better with the Elder Scrolls 6. And actually, I do think I probably will go back to Starfield at some point. But yeah, I don't think for a while. And yeah, hopefully by then it's a bit improved. And with the DLC coming next year, maybe that can do. I don't know what it can do, but we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. And the last bit of news is about the most Googled games of this year. Just thought I'd add this as a bit of an interesting piece of this year in gaming. The day before is absent, as I'm guessing this list was compiled before that release. Wouldn't be surprised that following its disastrous release, it would maybe have been on the list. Also, GTA 6 is absent, though we only recently got its trailer. But anyway, the most Googled games, or I guess one of them is game related, game things of 2023 were Hogwarts Legacy at number 1, The Last of Us, Connections, Battlegrounds Mobile India, Starfield, Baldur's Gate 3, Suika game, I'm not sure what that is, Diablo 4, Atomic Heart, and Sons of the Forest. So yeah, not too surprised by Hogwarts Legacy actually being on the list. I know that had a massive fanfare sort of around its release, and I think a lot of people were really looking forward to that game, and it did really well. So yeah, that's sort of not unexpected, I guess, as it's the most Google game. Although I guess I'm kind of surprised, but then I'm not really a fan of Harry Potter that much. I watched the older films and things, but I'm not like a big fan of the sheer franchise or anything. And The Last of Us, I think that was mostly referring to the TV show, or the streaming Netflix show, HBO, wherever it was, because yeah, that was really exploded at one point. And yeah, then start another games I know of. Starfield, obviously, yeah, it was massively hyped and had a big release. And Baldur's Gate 3, obviously, really massive, and Diablo 4 was a long awaited. Yeah, but I'm kind of surprised by some things on the list, especially the last two. I didn't know that Atomic Heart and Sons of the Forest were such searchable games. I know they were both popular. I just didn't expect them here. So yeah, those were the most Googled anyway games of 2023. That thing's been a bit different. I think maybe we would have seen the day before and GTA 6 on there. but yes, they were absent. Maybe they'll be on the list next year. Certainly GTA 6, I can imagine, will be. So yeah, that's the more general gaming news done. Now moving to the game reception section of this week's video. As mentioned last week, I will be covering Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, but also another 2 games. And obviously I've already covered the day before in the main news piece, so that ain't here. First up of the 3 games is Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. This is another game I covered a few times in recent months, and it is now finally out. If you didn't know, this is a game based on the Avatar franchise, so it's technically a movie tie-in game, but it isn't based on either the first or second movies. Instead, it takes place in a similar time frame, I believe. Been interested in this game for a while now, and I'm glad to say that it's doing quite well reviews-wise. Before I look at scores, I did want to say that I will be including a link to a review of the game by SkillUp's Austin in the description. Check that out if you're interested. On Metacritic, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is doing pretty well. Has a Metascore of 73, 77 and 76 on the PC, PS5 and Xbox Series S respectively. User score wise, it's doing better with a user score of 8.2. This is based on 266 user ratings when I checked. Sadly, the game isn't on Steam, but it is on Ubisoft's store, and interestingly, also on the Epic store. I'm a bit annoyed it didn't receive a Steam release, but hopefully one will come in the future. Luckily, Epic does have review ratings now, and the game is doing well there. On the Epic Store, Frontiers of Pandora has a rating of 4.4 stars out of 5, but I don't think Epic show how many users reviewed it. So yeah, Frontiers of Pandora is doing quite well. Not amazingly, but decent, especially when it comes to user reviews. The best thing about the game is its impressively detailed and vibrant world, something I do really like the look of as a fan of the games. As I said previously, I will be giving this game a go via Ubisoft Plus if it were to receive good reviews, so that's what I plan to do. I'm not keen on using the Ubisoft PC app, but I shall take one for the team as I do want to play the game. Not sure when this will be, however, probably early next year. Next up, the second game is Warhammer 40,000 or 40k Rogue Trader. I would have likely covered this a couple weeks back, but as I was aware it didn't. So this is another isometric tactical CRPG set in the Warhammer 40k universe. I don't believe this has been done before in this setting. I'm not sure why it seems like not sure why it hasn't happened before. It seems like an obvious mashup. But I'm not really keeping track on every Warhammer 40k game, so maybe there is one that's a CRPG type game. Yeah, let's get into reviews. The game seems to be doing pretty well. On Metacritic, Rogue Trader has a Metascore of 75 on PC and 80 on PS5. As for its user score, it has a score of 8.0. This is based on 39 user ratings when I checked. Over on Steam, the game is doing similarly well. It has a very positive rating with 80% of reviews being positive. This was based on 3,052 reviews when I checked. So yeah, Rogue Trader is doing well so far. As a fan of Warhammer 40k, it's nice to see more games that are good based on this license. May give it a go someday, but as someone who's not really played any CRPGs really, I'll probably give something else a go first. Like Baldur's Gate 3 or Pillars of Eternity. Actually, I have Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 and Original Sin 2, so probably give one of those number of games a go before I was to get into this. Now moving on, the final game is Pioneers of Pagonia, Pagonia. This is a game I covered in last week's upcoming game section, and it released into early access on Steam on December 13th. The game is a city builder / colony sim game featuring exploration and a procedural world. The game looks pretty cool, and I may give it a go someday, maybe when it fully releases. And I have to say it's doing really well reviews-wise on Steam. As it's an early access release, we have no other review scores to go by other than Steam at the moment, from what I can tell. On Steam, Pioneers of Pagonia has a very positive rating with 93% of all reviews being positive. This was based on 506 user ratings when I checked. The game was also on Steam's top seller list when I checked, which is pretty cool. So yeah, Pioneers of Pagonia is doing rather well thus far, and it's had a great start to its early access phase. I'll be checking back in on the game in the future to see how it's shaping up. Just to add, the game is going to be on sale until the 20th of December with a discount of 15% off. We'll add that in case you're interested in the game. Now for the upcoming games section. This week there isn't a lot going on release-wise, but I did find some interesting releases, including a big drop of re-release retro titles. But first up, we have a very interesting looking sandbox physics construction game, The Engineer, and I say it like that because it's spelled E-N-J-E-N-I-R. It looks similar in some ways to other physics simulation games, but is certainly unique. The trailer just does show off some cool physics and kind of reminds me of Human Fall Flat, except you're building structures and vehicles within the world. From what I can tell, the game doesn't have a story. It does look like there are single player missions though. The physics-based gameplay does look really good. Like in the look of the building, it seems like you can create many different structures and vehicles. From the footage I watched, you can create castles, obstacle courses, cars, trains, catapults, and siege engines, among other things that you can then control with your little character guy. The building system is, according to the devs, gridless, and this allows players to create very intricate structures and vehicles. Your creations, your character, and the world will interact with one another via the game's physics and ragdoll system, and it looks quite impressive. The Steam page details the game's features as, quote, 100% physics-driven building system, put your problem-solving skills to the test, 100% physics-driven character movement, enjoy the wacky and hilarious controls. Each mission can be solved in an infinite number of ways. Create and expand your own base in an infinite creative sandbox mode. Want to construct your own castle or perhaps a giant trebuchet? Look no further. Along with the missions, the creative mode, sounds cool. I can see myself having a lot of fun just constructing things and testing how they interact and testing different designs out. Sandbox nature of the engineer does seem quite vast. It looks like you can let your imagination run wild with this game, which could lead to fun and humorous outcomes if that's what you want out of it. Graphically, it's got that like flat color palette art design similar to games like the aforementioned Human Fall Flat. But yeah, it does look quite nice, at least to me. It's got like a sort of medieval theme to the game. The Engineer, spelled Enjenir, I feel like I have to spell that out each time, is releasing into early access on Steam on the 18th of December and is coming solely to PC. There's a demo for the game on Steam. I am liking the look of this game, so I'll probably be keeping an eye on it and may give it a go at some point soon and may give the demo a go. Next up, we have a bunch of classic slash retro PC action, RPG, strategy, and sim games from the 80s and 90s that are being released for Microsoft or modern Windows. They were releasing on the same day on both Steam and GOG and are being published by SNEG. As far as I can tell, the game slash titles launching are the Fantasy Collection, spelled PH, Star Command, Great Naval Battles Collection, War Game Construction Set Collection, Prophecy of the Shadow, Renegade, Battle for Jacob's Star, Savage Warriors, and Buccaneer. I won't cover each game individually in detail, but in brief, the fantasy games are fantasy RPG games, which released in the mid to late 80s. Star Command is a space fantasy RPG that released in 1988. Great Naval Battles Collection features the Great Naval Battles games, which are all released in the 90s and are ship simulation strategy games. War Game Construction Set Collection is a collection of war game video creation systems, I believe. They're sort of games or game creation systems that were released in the late 80s to mid 90s. Prophecy of the Shadow is a fantasy RPG that released in 1992 for MS-DOS. Renegade: The Battle for Jacob's Star is a spaceflight simulation game that released in 1995 for DOS. Savage Warriors is a 2D fighting game that released in 1995 for MS-DOS. And the final game, Buccaneer, is an action strategy game that released in 1997 for Windows. The only one I can vaguely remember seeing before this is Buccaneers, and it's the only game that kind of looks interesting to me. Well, maybe Savage Warriors as well. And those are the games I used for the footage of the section. Both videos were taken from YouTube channels. They should be on screen, but I also add a link to the videos in the description. So yeah, a variety of retro games. These should all be releasing, or re-releasing you might say, on the 19th of December and are coming to Steam and GOG or GOG. If you're into retro games, check them out. Also link an article in the description which covers the games in case you want more of a breakdown, as well as a list of all the games. And the final game, it's a short section this week, is White Sands. This game is a single-player RTS war game set in a dystopian / apocalyptic future. Actually looks quite cool and certainly unique. The devs detail this best, quote, as a commander of the Union, a semi-state organization with military and research potential, your goal is to help humanity rebuild. Modern military technology will give you an edge over the bandits, but the task will be far from an easy one. Yeah, quite an interesting premise. Story-wise, the game takes place in a not-too-distant future Earth, an Earth which has been devastated by a solar superstorm. In short, this ended up allowing solar radiation to reach ground level. This led to mass death along with DNA mutations. You're now commander of the Union, which is looking to rebuild humanity with what is left. And we've seen that there is still some high tech around and that you can utilize to help with the rebuild and protect your civilians. There are base building elements to the game, somewhat similar to the XCOM games from what I can tell, but you also interact with settlements, rescue survivors, and fight for food, water, and medical supplies. According to the description, on missions you will, quote, come face to face with gangs of cyborgs, bandits, and mutants. Modern military technology may not be enough against their superior numbers. Sounds pretty cool, actually. Going by the gameplay footage I've seen, it seems that you view and command units through the use of a drone or some other flying vehicle. I feel it gives quite a unique perspective on what's going on below. Graphically, the game has a quite the unique look and design. I feel that White Sands pulls off rather well the sort of near future post-apocalyptic look. Some shots are giving me sort of Fallout RTS feels in some ways. I don't think I've seen a game much like it visually, especially in the high up drone sort of RTS view. White Sands is releasing into early access on Steam on the 21st of December and is coming solely to the PC. Yeah, this is another game I will be checking back in on. Hopefully it ends up being good, as it has me intrigued. Moving on, we do have an additional release this week, that being the release of Resident Evil 4 Remake for macOS and iOS. Thought to cover this as it's cool to see a modern AAA PC/console game released for a phone, specifically in this case for the A17 equipped iPhones and iPads. It's also releasing on Mac. I'd covered this a little while back in a tech news video back when I was doing them, but yeah, this is the full Resident Evil 4 Remake game coming to mobile devices. How it will run, I'm not sure, but I suspect it is running a reduced quality resolution when compared to PC and consoles. But yeah, I feel it's still impressive nonetheless. I don't think there's too much to say about this release. The game has been exceptionally well received, as have the other RE Remake games. I prefer to play on a PC, but if you want to play on an A17 iPhone or iPad, soon you will be able to. Resident Evil 4 Remake for macOS and iOS is releasing on December 20th. I may check back in on to see how this game performs on the mobile devices. Yeah, kind of interested in how the game runs. I'll put a link in the description to an IGN preview of the game on the iPhone 15. Check that if you're interested. I do have a delay to cover this week, that being for Alone in the Dark 2024. This is a reboot of the classic Alone in the Dark franchise and is in some ways based on the original 1992 game of the same name. I guess it's considered a reimagining. The game has been delayed from its original release date of January 16th, 2024 to its new release date of March 20th, 2024. So a couple months delay. Not too bad if they need the time to work on the game more. That's fine by me. This was confirmed by publisher THQ Nordic via its X account. I'm really looking forward to this game. It looks really impressive and I like the style of the game. The developers Pieces Interactive said they were inspired by the success of the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes, which is good couple games to be inspired by. And the footage does look like they are taking some cues from the remake games, which is fine by me. Alone in the Dark 2024, it is a game I am very much looking forward to, as I said. So we'll likely cover it around release on March 20th, 2024. And I did want to do a quick game deal section actually, because there's quite a few deals going on at the moment, especially on Steam. There's a Capcom sale currently ongoing on Steam. I believe some of these games are also on sale on Xbox at the moment, but I'm not sure about how long and which ones specifically. And I couldn't seem to find any reference to the sale on PlayStation Store. So I'll simply go over the PC Steam sale, Capcom sale. So we got Resident Evil 2, these are remakes, Resident Evil 2, 3, 2 and 3, they are bundled, I believe, 75% off. Then we have Resident Evil 4 Remake, which is 50% off, which I actually bought. I believe the older Resident Evils, like the original ones, the older ones, are also on sale, like Resident Evil 4, the original and things. Then we have Resident Evil 7 and Village as a bundle for 60% off. Then we have Monster Hunter World, 67% off, and plus the Iceborne expansion, 63% off, or you can get them as a bundle. Then with the Devil May Cry games, they're at 60, 67 and 70% off, depending on which one you buy, between 60 and 70% off. Then with Street Fighter 5, which is 50% off, and actually 6 as well, which is a pretty new game, which is 34% off. Plus, I believe some of the other Street Fighter games are also on sale. So, fairly decent Capcom sale there. Especially interest to me is the Resident Evil games and Monster Hunter World. And ended up buying RE4 remake, because yeah, definitely want to give that a go at some point. And 50% off is, yeah, the game didn't come out, well, almost a year ago, I guess, but yeah, I think that's a pretty good deal for that game, especially. Plus the DLC isn't on deal, where you play as Ada Wong, I believe, but I got that alongside the remake. Now, before we wrap up, I did have a Spotlight video for today. This is a mod Spotlight from a YouTube channel. I've Spotlit before. The video is a spotlight of a mod for the original Thief Gold game called Thief the Black Parade. That's the name of the mod. A great video, as always, from Mandalore, and the mod does really look incredible. It's very large, nearly 10 years in the making. Being nearly 10 years in the making. It adds 10 very large missions to the game, all seemingly very detailed. When I finally get around to playing the original Thief games, I'm gonna give this mod a go once I finish the base games. It does look awesome. If you're into the Thief games or mods for classic games, definitely check the video out by Mandalore Gaming. As always, it will be linked in the Spotlight section below. So that's all the game coverage from me today. As mentioned in last week's gaming news video, this week's news video anyway, will likely be the last of this year. May do another news video if some big stuff comes up. But if not, then this will be the last news video of the year. Also, as I also mentioned, I will be doing 2 additional videos. These should release before the end of the year, and will be my most played games of 2023 and my most anticipated games of 2024. Keep an eye out for those videos. But yeah, it's been a pretty wild year when it comes to gaming. A lot of ups and downs, some really terrible downs, but some pretty good ups, I guess. Yeah, there was certainly a lot to cover. Let's hope there are less terrible releases next year and less layoffs, certainly. Closures and the likes going forward. Less of those, please. So yeah, that's news done for this year, seemingly. Following the 2 additional videos I spoke of, I should hopefully be back to the weekly news format at the beginning of January 2024. But anyway, as always, feedback is appreciated, so go ahead and like and leave a comment. If you enjoy my videos and commentary, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back again soon-ish.